Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Outcome series by Enzia. Today, I'm joined by Ragini, a co-founder of leap.club. It is my pleasure to be speaking with you. Before we get started, I wanted to actually share my own story of how we got into our partnership. So in November 2020, I remember getting a call from this super enthusiastic woman, Anchal, and she told me all about leap.club. And after a 20-minute or so conversation, I got so super intrigued to join this women's network platform. And I have to admit, this is my first participation in any kind of a women forum. And after I joined, I was just so impressed by the quality of members, interactions, events facilitated by Leap, that as we started Enzia later in 2021, it was a no-brainer that I had to put them on my tracking list for the companies that we may potentially invest in. And that happened as we also convinced both Anand and Ragini to see what we can bring as partners to them, but also with our own conviction that for helping people to move in their career journey, any platform needs to do three things and do them really well. One is to, of course, help them upskill and learn new knowledge and skills. Second, give them access to opportunities, whether it is jobs or any other forms of livelihood. And third, equally importantly, especially in these age and days, really giving access to network, which is diverse yet bound by some commonalities. And we have seen that in the success of platforms like LinkedIn, which have done that for a really large global population. But in the next decade to come, it is going to be a natural extension that the platforms for tomorrow are going to be built on the premise of depth. And women being a large community to be catered to, that's where our thesis and the focus of Leap kind of intersected, and we decided to invest and become a partner for leap.club in their own journey. So this was my part of the story. So now let's hear from Ragini. So Ragini, what got you to start the company, and what is your vision for the company?
Thank you so much for beautifully articulating that. But Leap actually started off as something that Anand and I used to keep talking about, Namita, and that was how professional networking, right, in today's day and age, like you said, is still so broken, right? And this is true across sectors, across age groups, across domains. So whether that's someone in real estate, whether that's someone working at Google, whether that's someone in venture capital, they will all tell you the same thing. So even during our research, and this was gender agnostic, we spoke to almost 300, 400 people. We asked them what they did for their professional growth and what is it that they needed. Now, in these conversations, of course, a bunch of things stood out. And those things actually helped us build at least the version 1 of Leap. But another very important point stood out, and which was how passionately women spoke about this and how it's 10x harder for us, right? For various reasons. So I think every startup picks either an age group or a strata of society today or something as their TG. We just decided to pick a gender. Right? India has more than 1.3 million women who earn more than 10 lakhs a year. They pay their taxes. They're on their way to leadership positions. Our mission is to help them get there, but more importantly, help them stay there. I think both Anand and I come from startup backgrounds, so we obviously knew that in the first look, the TAM reduces considerably. This would also not make our fundraising journey very, very easy. But I think something that we were very, very sold on was that this is a real problem we're solving, right? We're not coming up with a solution and then looking for problems. So I think this going after this mission and going after a community and going after that one common goal, like you said, right? Like it's also helped us build, right? It's also kind of helped us, it's held us in good stead, if I may, right? And we hope to, actually, we don't hope to, we will be the preferred professional network for women globally soon. We want to be a profitable, impactful company that positively influences three major things. Exactly what you said, connections and networks, super, super important. Jobs and opportunities, I think nobody will say they don't want access to it. 3 is learning and development. the learning and development doesn't stop, right? You can be someone who's 5 years in your career, 25 years in your career. You always want it in different shapes and forms. So that's where we're at. We're going milestone by milestone right now. For the next 3 years, our big focus is 100K members, 100 CR of revenue, and making a real difference to people's lives every single day, and all hands on deck, to be honest, to make that happen.
As you know, one of our core principles at Enzia is focus on customer outcomes. And, perhaps the other reason we found that connect, with Leap in terms of, forming our partnership. And what we mean by customer outcomes and why we are so focused on it, because fundamentally it is the thing which allows companies to drive the real growth as well as sustain it over years. That has happened in offline institutions. All the great institutions you can think of are built on that simple tenet. And it also helps the companies to build a brand which drives organic growth, right? So with that principle, we believe that outcomes are so important to not just impact, but also just building the right business foundation. So tell me how at Leap you break your vision into customer outcomes. And, especially early on, is it easy or hard to identify and define such customer outcomes for a business like yourselves?
So let me just start by saying nothing is easy in running a startup, right? But I think jokes apart, I think that's a great question. It's something we think about very, very often, right? And if you're a mission-focused company like us, I'm sure you do too. So at Leap, we measure outcomes in very different ways. Namita, we're not a platform that's promising you to get you from AVP to VP in so and so period, right? We're not a follow this diet, you will lose 5 kgs in 1 week, right? So Leap is essentially a safe space for women who will help you in your professional journey in different shapes and forms. And of course, like all companies, even in our chats, I think every month we continue to chase sales targets. We're glued to our DAO mouse. We're chasing retention numbers. We're gunning after activity-based cohorts because, of course, they on the daily tell you the health of the business. But I think a lot of anecdotal data for us also helps us define success, right? We actually have a website called love.leap.club, and I'm going to share the link so that you can, just share it with everyone as well. That has screenshots of members talking about how Leap has impacted their lives socially as well as professionally, right? People have found jobs, people have hired people, half my team I found on Leap, right? There's so much peer learning happening. There's so much one-on-one learning happening. I'm going for a trek this weekend with 20 Leap members in Gurgaon. I'm not even from Delhi, right? So we measure success in very, very, of course, quantitative ways, but also the not so quantitative ways. Essentially at Leap, we promise you a community of people who will be there for you. And we promise to obviously keep adding to it. In the future, of course, we give you access to jobs, course creators, a lot of L&D curated specifically for you. But the outcome, I also feel at the end of the day, is what you make out of this opportunity, right? The constant feedback that we get from members, right, who also think of themselves as owners because they're equally bound by the mission, also helps us define our metrics. It helps us define our wins. It helps us define our losses. And also, I think, align the team from time to time. Are we on the right track? Do we need to tweak? Do we need to fully change course, right? I feel this outcome-based approach, like you said, also in some sense helps you build the right culture with the team, right? You're defining goals, you're defining outcomes, but you're not just merely blindly chasing numbers, right? So I think just reiterating this to the team also helps them go after a common goal, which is almost like community building, right? So I think for us, that's how we look at this at Leap.
Yes, very well said. I think it's just orienting around outcomes can help you reach your business goals, but also do it in the right way, right? So it's not just about what you do, but how you do things, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. And so maybe could you more specifically talk about what are some examples of the metrics that you chase at Leap? And also, do these metrics or outcomes remain static, or have you already started seeing them evolve over time? And where do you see this going from here?
So I'll be honest, when we started Leap, we started with a basic idea in mind, right? And post that, it's just been learning, evolving every day. And I think for us, like I mentioned earlier, the best part is we have our ears to the ground, right? Like we have 4,000 members. We speak to hundreds of members, new members, people who don't become members month on month. When we started, we thought of Leap as a professional network, right? Only professional conversations are going to happen. Today, we have people getting gym together. We have people running together. We have people cooking together. We have people discussing their dating lives together. There's a queer clubhouse. Now, you don't see this happen in any other social media platform, right? And now, basis this, we start building engagement layers on it. So essentially, at least from our lens, engagement and metrics are just channels that kind of lead to outcomes, if that makes sense. We have to, from time to time, I think, keep anchoring them. We have to keep tweaking them. But at the end of the day, you have to let the members decide what they want to do, right? We have got to adopt basis how the user uses the product and not how we want them to use the product, right? And just to give you some 2, 3 more examples, we started off with so much focus on group coaching and we realized that people want one-on-one coaching. So we pivoted. I literally cold reached out to Ankur Variku saying that I have 200 women on my community. Do you want to come and talk? He was kind enough to come and talk. That became the property in itself, which became masterclasses today, which everyone loves. I know you love, right? Cohort-based courses, which I know you're very bullish about, right? Like we did our little pilot, I think around last year or early last year. Great feedback. Now I think we have the resources, we have enough members to make it bigger. We're launching it next quarter, right? So I think just while the mission stays the same, for us, ensuring the goalposts are also moving one at a time has been very, very important. So I think also not worrying too much about, okay, what will happen 10 years later, what will happen 15 years later. Next 3 years, full focus, stay frugal, stay in the game, play the long game, and just focus on what you're chasing. And of course, keep following, keep making tweaks, keep making your this thing. So I think that's how we look at building, so to speak.
Wow. So many things that you've learned in the last 20 months or so. And maybe
I've read also.
and maybe it's a little putting you on spot to maybe summarize some of your key learnings being an entrepreneur over the last 2 years or so. And I'm sure our audience will love to learn your own from your own learnings and maybe even challenges. So
Challenges are plenty. But I think my first thing I'd like to say is anyone who wants to start up, please go ahead and do it. Right? I think a lot of people are like, oh, risk, nothing to lose, go all out, give it your best. I think and of course, I've had lots of learnings and I write about it very often. Speak to your customers, keep your ears to the ground, learn to take feedback from people from time to time. You're never too big. But at the same time, know what to skip. Right? One person giving feedback is not 5,000 people giving feedback. So pick battles. Take more active pauses to celebrate milestones. I don't think this time comes back again. So your first closure for your 100th employee or your 100th closure for your first employee, or, whether it's a fundraise, whether it's whatever, just stop running every single day. And sometimes it's just okay to like sit, relax and be like, okay, I did good. Right. And I think that's also very important. Speed of execution. It's something I 100% believe in. I have always believed in, this. I think it really separates the great from the good. I think just make it your strongest weapon and you're unbeatable. I think growth happens gradually and then it happens suddenly. And I think the day you realize that, you start doing things very, very differently. It's very easy to get disheartened. It's very easy to feel jealous when you see people raising great rounds, doing this, doing that. But I think as long as you're focused on your game, you're playing the long game, you're going to be unbeatable. So just, I guess, play your own game and don't go after what others are chasing.
Wow, what a great set of learning. And I think on the last one also kind of connects with the theme of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, when the growth is happening, slowly and steadily, that is where you're building the foundation for the right things, including the customer outcomes. And then when it happens, suddenly you are really ready to grow in the right manner, right? So I think that basically embrace the time of steady growth, right? Embrace the time it takes to get to the right point, because really, actually, sometimes it's like the pressure-free time, right? The only pressure is the pressure from you yourself, right?
Yeah, I genuinely feel hockey stick growth is not always the right growth, right?
Yeah.
So, and it may be for your business, but I think specifically for me, basis at least my last 2 years and what's worked for us, what's not worked for us, because of course we've made ton of mistakes. I think it's very, very important to keep questioning yourself, but also don't over question yourself.
Yes, super. I think that walking the balance always is a hard one, but an important one.
Yeah.
But once again, thank you so much, Ragini, for your time, and I'm sure there are key takeaways for everyone and entrepreneurs, and we look forward to continuing on our journey together.
Oh, can't wait to keep building, Namita. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.